Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Well, happy Friday, Lock Shoppers. It's our favorite show of the week, NFL Best Bets. We've got the three-man weave while Dusty continues to get worked on to get him back in the chair. Monday morning, the Lieutenant Eric show will be renamed the Nielson show once again after a little bit. Shout out to LTE though, Reed, who's been popping in, or Will Fraser, I should say, and the fellas, and of course Dusty will be back hopefully as normal in the Lock Shop on Monday. But we do have Dusty's picks. I've got 4 for you. Jake Bolin Moss is locked and loaded, and so is Pat Gregoire. Fellas, we will get to the picks in a moment, but I can't even be too pissed off that my picks sucked the way they did last night, because I really do feel it was an act of God that prevented the 4 field goals from being kicked, because we essentially got a blizzard in the second half, which completely changed everything about the game. They weren't even kicking converts at that point. But from a football fan perspective, we're going to win lots of bets. We'll lose lots of bets. That was a treat to watch. You don't usually get such an exciting Thursday nighter between an 8-2 team and a 2-8 team. I regret talking myself and potentially Pat out of betting the Browns yesterday on the program. And we got some of the best Jameis Winston quotes in a long time. That was a lot of fun last night, despite the fact that I was not successful with the wagers that were placed.
How can you not be romantic about not just football, but Jameis Winston playing football and Jameis Winston talking about football? Man, the pregame, the postgame, halftime, I think we just need Jameis Winston mic'd up at all times. We need an alt cast like the Winston cam. Just follow him along. We might in just typical Winston fashion too. That touchdown was so good. Helmet explodes. He is it's slapstick comedy watching this guy play football. It's unbelievable.
2-point convert that so I'm out with a couple of friends watching the game, and if you caught it, he goes to the line for the 2-pointer, and I'm like, does he have a tea bag hanging from his helmet? What is that? It was dangling in his line of vision. Obviously, he couldn't communicate, so he just snapped the ball, made a hell of a play, and moved on. That was an absolutely bizarre moment of the game. And Jake, you know what? The more I think about this, and I said this to a friend yesterday, after the pregame stuff, what you hear on the sidelines, then I don't know if you caught the line at the end, he's running, it was, I'm going on Amazon and I'm ordering a dub to be delivered to my house by 9 p.m. tonight. I got thinking, and I truly do believe this, that Jameis Winston, post-playing, is going to be so in demand for media involvement. He could very well, he's entertaining enough, he could be the Charles Barkley of the national football media. Fast forward 10 years.
You know what I need, Huss? Gruden and Winston after his playing career at Barstool. I think the content out of there would be incredible, because Gruden has been a unbelievable ad. All his stuff that comes up on my feed, it's must watch. And to have him and Jameis, oh my God, that's the stuff that would come out of there, man. I can't even imagine.
I'm pumped for Cleveland fans last night, I got to say. And I mean, Al Michaels shouted them out, as he should have. It's the fourth quarter. They're down again. Not a single person has left. Everyone's got 2 or 3 centimeters of snow on their head. And they are absolutely locked in. I mean, that was, Pat, that was part of the reason why it was dangerous to kind of side with the Steelers, was that was the Browns' Super Bowl last night. This team is going nowhere other than high pick in the draft. But much like they stepped up against the Ravens earlier this season, there's something different when those AFC North teams, and you really can throw the records out. Home field means a lot in those games, and the Browns finally rewarded their incredible fans with a performance that was deserving of the incredible crowd there, along with a ton of Pittsburgh fans. It was a special night.
It was so much fun. Some of the shots of those Cleveland Browns fans in the dog pound, no shirt on. It was this is what football's about. This is why we love it. This is why also this rivalry in this division is so good. Jake laid out the spread numbers in his video on Wednesday. What is it? 50-31 since 2018. AFC North dogs are nothing to mess around with, especially when they're at home. I think twofold here. Yes, you are right. Like this, that was a part of why I went with the Browns, but a part of the reason why I didn't go with the Browns. And yes, you did talk me off, and so did Dusty. But like a part of it was me talking out of myself too, because the week before, man, that looked like a team that had given up on their coach, that had given up on the season, that had mailed it in. But we saw the fight. We saw a team that cared. We saw that a team that still had some fight left in them. You're right. It's probably their Super Bowl. Who knows what they do for the rest of the year, but they gave it their all. And that's why these rivalries are so much fun. On the flip side, I'd be curious to know, because you and I both had some serious faith in this Steelers team, in Tomlin coming into this season. I think you a little more than me, but I did have them on their over totals, and then essentially also then dove in on to make the playoff odds because I felt like it was just too good not to. I think there are some growing concerns about this Steelers team. I will say that. And I know it's short rest off a very emotional win, like writings on the wall, interdivision dog, you name it. But I do feel like maybe this 8-3 record isn't as good as an 8-3 record should look at this point in the year.
Hey, it doesn't matter. They're 8-3. I mean, honestly, if you had said at the start, I mean, to me, someone that's taken the over or said that they're going to make the playoffs, you'd say that they'll be in first place. And, we have 8 wins right now. You'd take it a million times over. The crazy thing about this is we're talking about the Steelers who are 8-3. The Browns are just one game back of the Bengals. Like that division. And again, I did pick the Bengals to miss the playoffs last year on our futures show at more than, I think it was plus 240 or something like that. Now, again, that was Joe Burrow getting hurt. This year, Burrow's been there. And they are, obviously we're going to get to their game, their next game coming up. They're playing the Steelers next week at home. They do have a pretty soft schedule with the exception of 2 games against Pittsburgh. And they do have the Broncos, I guess. But, they go after the Steeler game, they go Cowboys, Titans, Browns. The problem is they've lost 3 of their last 4. And to get, do you think there'll be a 9-8 team that makes the playoffs in the AFC? I guess that's the question. Because if there's not, they have to run the table 6 straight wins to get to 10-7.
Jake, I know you're Mr. Projected standings and looking at all the different hypotheticals.
I'm a big strength of schedule guy. Strength of schedule guy.
So I think I'll let you maybe dive into this quickly, but I definitely think, Jake, you go it. I know you've been diving into this stuff. Take it away.
Yeah, you look at the number 7 seed right now is Denver in the AFC. They got Vegas this week, Cleveland next week at home. Then they'll get Indy, the Chargers, Bengals, and Chiefs to close it out. So, maybe you project a 3-3 there. If you're looking just off of games they'll be favored in, I think the next 3 they'll be favored in, probably the 3 after they won't be, obviously depending on where the Bengals are and depending on where the Chiefs are late in the season now. 3-3 gets the Broncos to 9-8. So, yeah, I could see the 7th seed being a 9-8 team, Us. I think that would be to me, like I don't see it coming. Like there won't be two teams at 9-8. You know, like I think if any team's going to make the AFC playoffs, there's going to be one at 9-8, and it's going to come down to, you know, anywhere from, you know, you could argue the Dolphins are still in the mix. They're 4-6. The Bengals at 4-7. I don't know how I feel about my Colts right now. They're 5-6, and then the Broncos just kind of holding on to that spot at the current moment.
Well, Jake, I'm just looking at the and we are in the hunt season for those who celebrate. We'll be getting those graphics coming in soon. But the Chiefs right now, their current percentage of making the playoffs, 99%. The Bills, 99%. Even with that loss yesterday, the Steelers, 94%. The Texans, 97%. The Chargers, 92%. The Ravens, 95%. But then you mentioned that 7 hole. It dropped significantly. The Broncos at 60%. And then the Colts at 32%. So
what do they have for
think,
Bengals?
And they play each other.
Let's see what the Bengals is. The Bengals is 13.
I didn't really clue into that, but the 8th and 7th seed currently in the AFC will get a head-to-head game. So that could be a huge swing game depending on where those teams sit. You know, kind of week. I think it's week 14 or week 13.
Denver plays Cincy too. Denver plays Cincy in the final week of the season.
Denver, man.
So like Denver and I mean, man, you think about that game that they lost to the Chiefs on the block punt. I mean, if they're sitting there at 7-4,
you're feeling a lot better.
We're pretty much saying, okay, we've got our 7 teams for the playoffs in the AFC. I kind of think Denver is going to do it, and we'll see 3 teams from the AFC West, but it'll be up to Indy. Probably not Miami, but maybe, and I guess Cincy, who actually has the extra loss right now, that'll have to run the table if they want to do it. And 13% seems about right. In the NFC, heading into this weekend, Detroit's the 1 seed. You got the Eagles at 8-2. The Cardinals, on account of being the first place team in the West, 6-4, and the Falcons 6-5 as the 3-4 seeds because they're division leaders. And then Minnesota at 8-2 in the 5 seed, Packers 7-3 in the 6 seed, and the 7-win Commanders in the 7 seed, and then a drop off to the 5-5 teams in the NFC West of the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners. All of those teams desperately needing to go on a little bit of a run here because 500 ain't going to cut it. And I think in this conference, I think 10 wins is probably going to – I mean, the fact that these other teams are already at 7, and we've seen what the Commanders have coming up on their schedule. I'm just looking at the Packers rest of the way. They've got this game against the Niners, which could be without Brock Purdy, at the home to the Dolphins, at the Lions, at the Seahawks, home to the Saints, at the Vikings, home to the Bears. So I think there's a pretty good chance there's 3 wins on that schedule for the Packers, which basically means we could have not a lot of drama when it comes to the wild cards. But again, the in the hunt season is on. We can spend a little more time about that coming out of this week and next. But
just one more thing while we're in the hunt. I just thought this was really interesting, and it's obviously because of the opponent they're playing. So the Cardinals, just quietly, as you mentioned, just sitting there atop the perch, 3rd seed right now with that 6-4 record. If they beat Seattle this week, right now, their chances of getting in sitting at 59. If they win, it jumps all the way up to 77. If they lose, it drops all the way down to 47. Oh. Needless to say, this game this week against Seattle is absolutely massive. On the flip side, Seattle right now, their playoff percentage is at 23. They're hanging on by dear life.
What does it do if they win?
Bumps up to 34%. I thought it would be a little bit higher than that. I guess I thought they still have maybe a little more meat on the bones. But if they do lose, it drops all the way to 10, and you can almost virtually expect them not to make it. Because you mentioned it, I think 10 wins is probably going to be that 7 seed spot, and maybe even 11 for that 6 seed and going up even to the 5th seed.
You know, that division is so tight. You've got 1 game separating 1 to 4. 3 5-5 teams, 1 6-4 team, and this is the week, I would say, when you look at every single team as a tough game. Arizona and Seattle going at it in Seattle. The game is a straight pick 'em, -109 on either side. You got to love it. The Niners right now, after Brock Purdy tried to practice, left quickly, and they're praying that he can go on Sunday. They're in Green Bay to take on the Packers, and then the Rams are at home but have to take on the 8-2 Eagles. I mean, there's no easy game for any of those teams right now, and this could be a big one. Let's just quickly run down the lines where we're at before we start getting into some of our picks. The Chiefs. I think this is only like the Chiefs' second and only other noon game all year. They had that one against Denver a few weeks ago. They're in Carolina to take on the Panthers. They're laying 11. The Vikings, 3.5-point favorites in Chicago against the Bears. The Texans, 7.5-point home favorites against Tennessee. The juggernaut Lions on the road, albeit still in a dome against the Colts. The Lions laying 7 on the road. Dolphins laying 7 at home against the New England Patriots. The Buccaneers, 6-point favorites against Tommy Cutlets and the Giants. Daniel Jones cut today by the Giants. The Danny Dimes era is
just
over.
Flat out released. Insane.
Hey, you know what needs to happen? The Cowboys need to sign Danny Dimes today and then start him on that Thanksgiving game.
Oh,
Giants
yes,
Dallas.
they do.
I think Big Cat tweeted that. Save Thanksgiving. Sign Daniel Jones.
We need it.
Cowboys 10-point underdogs in DC against the Commanders. The Broncos 6-point favorites on the road against Vegas. Some pretty big lines this week. The Packers were 2.5-point favorites. They're now 3-point favorites with this news about Brock Purdy. The Eagles are 3-point favorites at even money against the Rams on the Sunday nighter. And then we'll talk about this on Monday. We won't bet it today, but the Ravens -2.5-point favorites against the Chargers in the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yes.
You know what? It's funny. Dusty sent me his picks, and we are on very different games with the exception of one. So I will throw this out. Let me just make sure. I made all my bets last night. I actually did get a nice number on one of these games that has changed. But yes, we're both on the Broncos, -6. Denver is playing very well right now. And, you know, while all the attention early on in the year was on Caleb Williams and on Jaden Daniels, there's 2 other rookie quarterbacks that have really, really shown a lot of movement forward and promise. And Bo Nix is one of them. Drake May is the other. We'll talk about Drake May when we get to that Patriots-Miami game. The defense of the Denver Broncos is elite. Oh, I think we may have lost Pat.
We lost Patty. It's okay. He'll be back.
Mr. Question Mark. Okay. He's just thinking about his next pick right now. He's back.
Hit us with the Riddler. That question mark.
The Raiders are dealing with some big time injuries on the defensive side of the football in their secondary, and they just don't have much offense at all outside of Brock Bowers, who is a phenom. And then you've got the coaching matchup. I mean, Antonio Pierce versus Sean Payton. To me, this is an absolute mismatch. We often talk about home field, but take it from me, that was just in Vegas. Now, obviously, the Chiefs are traveling probably as well as any team in the league, but the Broncos have a great fan base. They're not too far away from Vegas. I guarantee you there's going to be a ton of orange in that building. So when we come down to it, just these teams are on completely different levels and are going in different directions right now. So I am with Dusty. We will throw the first pick in Denver -6 against the Raiders to kick off the best bets.
Sounds like Pat's on it too.
Yep, we'll save some time. When I saw her face, I'm a Bo-liever. I think I'm finally believing in Bo Levi. or Bo Nix. I'm believing in him, man. He's caused me so much harm, so much pain over the years in college. I think that was blinding me. And we talked about it last week, Jake, and I think we've talked about it a few times off camera. He is definitely a plucky pick for Rookie of the Year. I really think so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Daniels is probably still the guy unless they completely come back. I mean, he seems to had such a big lead, but we've talked about this before. There is an element of what have you done for me lately? And if all of a sudden the Commanders are coming back to the pack and Denver makes the move and actually makes the playoffs, I mean, I don't discount that.
Yeah, listen, I think their stats line up pretty close. Like, if you look at it, it sounds pretty crazy, but the stats line up. And if it comes down to the end of the season standings and Denver's got more wins than the Commanders, I think there's very much a case to be made for Bo. So, yeah, we'll have to see here. I'm not on Denver. They're not on my card, but I don't hate the pick. I'm sure we're going to have that on the partner parlay. Maybe we're moving it to 5.5, but yeah, I don't mind the pick.
We like that. Although sometimes when there's the one game that we all agree on, that's the one you get burned on. You never know.
Jake isn't on it, so it's not a unanimous. So I think we're okay. I think we're okay then.
Hey, do you guys remember, Patty? I know you pay attention to WWE. Do you remember Bo Dallas?
Yes,
and
of course.
He had the Bo leave. I've just pulled this up right now. Not surprisingly, the Broncos have adopted Bo Dallas's Bo leave shtick, and
I love it.
There's plenty of Bo Nix, Bo leave Denver Broncos shirts available. If you want,
he's Uncle Howdy now, right? He started out as
that's right.
Yeah,
Uncle Howdy.
Quite the persona change, to say the least.
Jake, where are you starting off if we're all on this Denver game and against the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, let's take it right to Bucks Giants. DeVito. I'm not taking Tommy DeVito, though. I'm taking the Bucks this week. Bucks -6. I think I don't know if I do this on purpose or if it's just a happy accident, but I like to have a bit of a theme to my picks each week. And this week's theme is, standings watching. Like, what teams are standings watching? What teams are in desperate need of a victory? New York Giants, bottom of the NFC. I'm sure the spark of DeVito will help maybe early on in the game. But I think when it's all said and done, the Bucs need this win more than anybody. They're 4-6 right now, but only two games back of the Falcons. I don't really know how that math checks out, but it's one of those things where I think Mike Evans is going to be back. Bucky Irving was a full participant this week. Wirfs is limited right now, but I think he'll be back. So Bucs are getting healthy. They're coming off the bye. I know the Giants are coming off the bye as well, but I think it's one of those spots where the Bucs are in desperate need of a win. They go out, they take care of business against the Giants. You look at the Bucs schedule. I've tweeted this out. This is actually from our guy Pat Mayo. He tweeted it out as well. Like, if you're looking for a team with a good number to make the playoffs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be the ones. They get the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders over the next 3 weeks. I think they'll be favored in all three of those. Then they got to go to the Chargers. That'll be a tough game. To the Cowboys. I don't think they've won at home this season. Then they get the Panthers again and the Saints to close out the season. I think they're going to be favored in every one of those games but the Chargers. So, if they win the games they're favored in, go 6-1, that leaves them, at the 10-7 mark, and might find their way in either by winning the division or squeaking in the last position of the NFC there. So I'm on the Bucs this week, -6. I like that I don't have to take the full 7 with a touchdown, and pretty happy with that. I also don't mind the over in that one. I think DeVito can provide a bit of a spark. 41's pretty low.
The one issue with Tampa is, and this is more for the division, they're 0-2 against Atlanta.
To the Falcons, yeah. It's tough.
So they don't have that tiebreaker and they're back. And if you look at what Atlanta's doing, I guess Atlanta's off this week. Atlanta's got the Chargers at home. They're at the Vikings. Tough game. The return of Kirk Cousins. At the Raiders, home to the Giants, at the Commanders, home to the Panthers. So the question is, will they lose enough for Tampa to get back in for the division? But again, it's believe plus 275 right now to get in for the playoffs. So I'm sort of with Pat. I think they're going to be frisky. The thing with Tampa, and this is tough for them, but I mean, they played really well over the last month.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at their games, like this portion of their schedule, home to the Ravens, they lose by 10. They lost that heartbreaker to Tampa. I believe that was a Monday nighter by 5. And then they go to Arrowhead, get it to overtime, lose, and lose by a field goal to the 49ers. I mean, Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, Niners, that's as tough a 4-game slate as maybe anybody has all year. And
especially without your two best wide receivers.
Well,
Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, they were, you wonder if things might be different if they'd had Godwin and Evans for either of those. Evans will be a big boost coming back. I do like the Tampa pick, though. I didn't have it in my final 4, but it basically came down to Denver and Tampa, both at 6-point favorites, and I went with Denver. Sorry, quick sneeze.
A bit of a sneeze fit there.
Well, last week, everyone and their dog were on Patrick Mahomes because when Patrick Mahomes is a dog, he covers. And you know what? Sometimes trends are meant to be bucked from time to time, and that's okay. But a trend that I'm rolling with, or a couple of trends I'm rolling with that I don't think is getting bucked here. Double-digit favorites are 5-0 against the spread and straight up this season. The Kansas City Chiefs are coming off a loss. They've been humbled a little bit. They're hungry. They recognize they need to get this train back on track. And who better to do it against the Panthers? 11-point favorites. We talked about this, Jake, last week with the Lions. Ooh, that number is too big. How can these other guys get paid too? Well, you know what? Sometimes there are teams that are just much, much better than other ones, and I think that's the case here. This is a flex your muscles Patrick Mahomes game. Following a loss in Patrick Mahomes' career, he is 18-4 with 6,076 passing yards, 52 touchdowns, and 19 interceptions. That is a game average of 276 yards, 2.3 touchdown passes, and 0.86 INTs. Since 2018, when Mahomes took over as starter, the Chiefs are also 14-9-1 against the spread after a loss. This is a bounce back spot. We were talking in the green room before this program start. We might see Pacheco in this game. I think this is Andy Reid is going to scheme. He's going to scheme, and this is a game where I feel sorry for the Panthers because it is going to be a beatdown for the Chiefs.
I'm just looking at the injury report, and Pacheco is on IR right now. He remained limited at practice Thursday. With the fact that they're playing Carolina, I mean, they're certainly not going to rush him. If they think he's ready to go and they want to get him a little bit of work, they will. I would stay away. Like, if you're a fantasy guy and you've been waiting for Pacheco to come back and all of a sudden he's there and you look at the matchup against the Panthers, I would be very wary of this. And I think even when Pacheco comes back, to be honest, Kareem Hunt has been so good. He'll still be involved in the offense. Big question for them is, can they get Hollywood Brown back? And Hollywood tweeted out the clock yesterday. The time is coming. So it would be nice to see him going. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Chiefs haven't been great covering spreads so far this year, at least lately. But I'm sort of with you. I think this is a very nice little get-right opportunity. And listen, the defense is still the defense, and Bryce Young is going to have his hands full. Although I do think they're going to have Adam Thielen back, which should be a nice boost for Young. Let's go. Dusty's next pick. Oh, Dusty is also on the Chiefs, -11.
Sweet.
Dusty's liking a couple of the big numbers today. We talked about the Denver Broncos. He's also on the Chiefs. And the other bet that he's got, not surprisingly, and I think this will be on his card and many people's card until further notice, the Lions at -7. Now, Detroit is, I mean, they've just been an absolute buzzsaw. you go through this schedule. I mean, they've dropped 50 burgers in 2 of their last 4 games. Albeit on terrible teams in the Titans and the Jaguars. And they had a tough game against the Texans, but they found that way to win. I don't know about the Colts. I mean, with Anthony Richardson, I mean, they did some good things. It seemed like Steichen actually, instead of having the exact same game plan for Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson, who couldn't be 2 more different quarterbacks, they actually designed a lot more to take advantage of his legs, and he played quite well yesterday. I'm not on this game, but until further notice, it's pretty tough to fade Detroit, whether you're talking about a game or even the spread, Jake.
Yeah, add him to my card. I'm on him as well. It's almost like you could almost argue this is a bit of a fishy line. Like 7 points. I know the Colts won last week. They beat the Jets. Like we know where the Jets are at
by 1.
That's not an impressive win. No one is, patting the Colts on the back saying, "Oh, good job, you beat the New York Jets." Everyone beats the Jets. The Lions have been a covering machine though, and they beat up on teams like you said, Huss. It's been shown. They had that tough game against the Texans a couple weeks ago in prime time. They managed to squeak out a win in that one. But I think you look at their schedule going forward. They got Green Bay, Buffalo, San Fran, and Minnesota left to play. You got to win the games that you're supposed to win. The Colts are one of them. They get Chicago twice. I think those 2 games are, kind of in the must-win territory as well. So, yeah, this is one of those spots where I think Detroit could put up some big numbers. They always seem to have a really solid game plan. And when they start hot, man, they do not let their foot off the gas. You watched Gibbs last week. I don't know if you saw that little the little edit that they put out where he's Sonic. He's collecting the coins. I think the Lions put it out. Just incredible. Like, just watching these guys play football is a lot of fun. And, the Lions have been on a great little run here, 9-1. They want to keep a great record. They got to beat the teams that, that they're supposed to beat. And the Colts are one of those teams. So I'm on Dusty with the Lions at -7.
All right. Well, listen, we've had some big favorites get picked. I'm going on the other side for my next pick. And Jake, I'm taking your Patriots. Now, the line is 7. I got this last night at 7.5, and that was sort of why I jumped on it at the time. Certainly like it better with the extra half point.
For the record, you can still get 7.5 -115, so not bad at all.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, basically, I mean, we always said, if it's under -120, you can throw it in for the pick. So I would suggest taking, as I said, it was -114 last night. Listen, Miami's good when Tua's playing. Their offense is dynamic, and they're going to get theirs. But I'm really coming around to Drake May. We had this conversation about Bo Nix and what he's been doing so far this year. I think the Patriots have a player with that 3rd overall pick. And it seems like the team is building more and more confidence in him. Listen, we don't expect big things from New England for the rest of this season. But I think as he develops and gets more time under center, in the pocket, in NFL action, he's showing that he is very much capable of playing at a high level. And listen, did they cover last week? No, but it was only a 4-line, and that was a desperate Rams team that came in with Cooper Kupp and far more weapons than they had. They beat the Bears, they beat the Jets, they had that tough loss to the Titans. Miami has always been sort of the kryptonite for the Patriots, even during the Brady days. I mean, those teams played really close games. I'm kind of thinking that Drake May is going to be the guy that closes the gap a little bit between these teams right now. Miami just has to figure out a way to win, but I know that New England is playing every game like they're working for jobs, for security, and working for this young quarterback. I don't mind the over on Drake May passing yards in this game. I think it's around 220 or so. He's going to get a chance to sling it out, and they're going to have to do it because Miami's going to put up some points. But I like the Patriots here. And if you're going to give me more than a touchdown, sign me up for that. New England plus 7.5. You're the resident Pats guy. Am I nuts, or are you feeling me here?
No, I don't mind it. I do worry that it's the Dolphins, and for whatever reason, the Dolphins have just found ways to get the Patriots, even dating back, like you said, to the Brady era. So That is a bit of a concern, but I think Drake May's been playing well. You think about that fumble last week that kind of turned the game. He was kind of just left out to dry. If you can start protecting this guy a bit more, I think we're going to see even some more impressive play from him. And obviously that's not going to happen this year, but going forward, get some protection, get some more weapons for this guy. And, I'm happy the direction in which they're going. So, yeah, I don't mind the play. Touchdowns a lot, especially in a divisional game.
What's next on your card, Jake?
So moving down the card, I know we talked about Brock Purdy not being available, but I think I got to take the Niners. I mean, we're talking about, the standings watching, and the Niners need wins. +3 right now. It feels like they haven't really got McCaffrey going. I think, this is one of those weeks, especially if Brock Purdy plays and is a little banged up. This is the week to get him going, and I can't quit them. Like, I think they should have won last week, and that's at the tough spot to a divisional opponent like the Seahawks. You lose. I know you got to go to Green Bay. I know that's not an easy place to play by any means, but you need to find wins right now. The Niners are still one of those teams that, the books believe they're going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be still fighting. Like, they're the the third team on the list to win the NFC still, and they're not even in a playoff spot, right? I know they're not far out of their division with the Cardinals at 6-4, but they still need to win football games, and being an underdog this week against the Green Bay Packers doesn't help their case. Like I said, it's standings watching time. I think the Packers, not that they don't want to win, but they can afford a loss a lot more than the Niners can right now. Hungry dogs run faster. So give me the Niners +3 this week, and I'm just going to hope we get a little Kyle Shanahan masterclass in terms of the run game and protecting the quarterback, whoever it ends up being.
Well, George Kittle has said that he is going to play, even though, and you want to talk about this is like, I guess he got ruled out relatively late on Sunday last week. And I, of course, was getting to the Grey Cup, and it was the one Sunday of the year where I'm not as focused on everything happening in actives and all that. So I had Kittle in my fantasy lineup for 0, while I had Taysom Hill on the bench.
Oh, I had him on my bench.
40 points.
So
that probably is going to be the difference between me making the playoffs or not. Here's the thing, though. Kittle can play. If Brock Purdy can't play, I don't know how anyone can have confidence jumping. And by the way, Dusty also on the Niners +3. But
I think
we
it's one of
think
those
Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs can go into Lambeau and beat a good Green Bay team. I don't.
I think Green Bay's been playing with a bit of fire. They struggled against Jacksonville, barely beat them on a big run. They struggled against the Bears. I know that's a divisional game. The Bears have not been a good football team in the last few weeks here. So, I think they've been playing with fire a bit. And like I said, I don't think they're as hungry as the Niners are right now. The Niners have to win football games, no matter who's starting. If they lose this week, it's a real uphill climb for them. Their schedule doesn't get a lot easier. So, I don't know. Not necessarily that I believe in those guys. It's more of a Shanahan thing where it's like, let's plug and play and figure out a way to win the football game, whether it's, clock management, like controlling the clock on the ground, using all 3 of your downs. And finding ways to win. Like, the inexcusable loss last week against the Seahawks. I know it's a divisional spot. They need wins bad right now. And I understand it's one of those situations where it's like, do I want to put my money on Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs? Probably not. But it's kind of one of those things where I'm back in Shanahan this week.
For me, I looked, the minute I heard a report of a guy that was at practice saying what he saw from Brock Purdy, I immediately jumped over to Coolbet to see if I could still get 2.5. And you could, but it was like -130 or -135 or something like that. The number is 3 now because of this. So this is a stay away game for me. I mean, maybe once we get some clarity on the quarterback situation, you might be able to convince me. But as of right now, with the uncertainty, I think I'm going to bow out on this one. Patty, you have any skin in this one? You're muted.
It's really sad. It's sad that Jake has given up on his Packers already. He's places that future bet. He's talking about
still
how
there.
This is a team that can, and he's just given up. He's absolutely given up. This is a strict stay away game for me, to be quite honest. I can't really get you guys both bring up really great points. I think there are 2 teams that have to prove a lot, and until they prove it, I'm not really going to go on either side. My next bet, I'll go with 2 because I know we like to keep the sides, but there is a total that I like, and I like the under in the Harbaugh Bowl. I know the Ravens offense can score a ton of points and their defense can give up a bunch, but these are 2 men, football guys that know each other really well. They're going to be playing for a lot of pride, and I think one thing that they like to do historically is play strong defense. So I think both of them know each other very well. I think when you look at the Chargers, there's a reason why they have one of the best defenses in the league. I think they'll be able to contain the run game. They don't give up a ton of points. That also might be a field goal game, although I think Justin Tucker is broken. Like, I've never seen him miss field goals like he is, but I think both defenses do a pretty good job bending, not breaking, even though the Ravens give up a ton of yards in the air. This one here at 51 seems like a lot for 2 coaches, 2 teams that are going to be playing for a lot of pride. Since I spent a lot of time on that pick, I won't spend too much time on my next pick. That is the other side. Commanders -10. I'm sticking with the double-digit trends, and also the Cowboys. Here's a trend for you. They stink. They're brutal. They're a dumpster fire. They're awful. I will not put any money behind supporting that dumpster fire of an organization. And the Commanders, Jake, you want to talk about hungry dogs. You want to talk about teams that need to prove it. They're starting to trend down in the wrong direction. They got to go back up. They got to start playing a lot better to what we saw them play earlier on this season. I think this is a big bounce back spot for the Commanders.
Yeah, and we'll save that Ravens-Chargers game for a Monday, and we'll maybe get that total in on a little same gamer for Monday night. All right, well, listen, we've gone through all these other picks. I actually still have 2 that we haven't mentioned, and I'm so intrigued by this NFC West. As I mentioned, I'm actually fading the Niners on the other side. Like, I think that with the injuries and where they're at right now, this team might not make the playoffs. And part of it is just how competitive this division is. In the Sunday nighter, I'm going to take the 3 points with the Rams against the Eagles. And listen, this is on brand for me. I'm still not really buying the Eagles as an 8-2 team, but listen, good for them. They've won their games. I think the Rams are good enough to get it done, and I'll probably be jumping on them on the money line on this game. I mean, we speak about hungry dogs. I mean, the Rams with a head-to-head matchup between the Cardinals and Seahawks, they've got to get this win right now. And I mean, it's basically playoff time right now for every team in that division, week after week after week, because of how tight it is. So I like the Rams. I love what their offense is, where their offense is at home with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back in, Kyron Williams. I think that this game will be a fun one to watch. I think there'll be points on both sides. But if you're going to give me 3 points for the home dog, I will take the Rams in that game. And then my other pick, I'm going to go to this Arizona and Seattle game. And I'm waiting for a little bit of a market correction on the birds, to be perfectly honest with you. The Cardinals, that is. I guess they're both technically birds. Geno Smith was so nails in the 4th quarter of that game, bringing them back, scoring that touchdown. I think that there just has to be a huge boost of confidence for Seattle. I mean, that basically in a lot of ways saved their season. You hand the Niners a loss, you avoid going to 4-6, and now you're just 1 game back of first place with that team in your own building. One of the most intriguing games of the week. Straight up pick 'em. I think the 12s will be ready to go. It is outdoors. I think that plays into the Seahawks' hands a lot more than Kyler Murray in that offense that normally spends their time in the dome. I'm taking Seattle straight up. Pick 'em -109 for this one to round out the pick. So you guys get yours. We'll just do a quick rundown and then we'll put together the parlays. I got the Patriots +7.5, the Rams +3, Seattle pick 'em, and the Broncos -6. Dusty also on the Broncos -6. He's taking the 3 points with the Niners in Green Bay, laying the 11 with Kansas City in Carolina, and laying 7 with the Lions against the Colts. Jake?
Yeah, for me, it's the Lions as well with Dusty. I'm on the Bucks at -6. I'm also on the Niners with Dusty at +3. And I'm joining you in the Rams. You know, I didn't really break this one down, but, you know, you look at who the Eagles have beat over the last 6 weeks in their 6-game win streak here. A lot of cupcakes in there. You got the Browns. I believe Deshaun was still playing then. The Giants, you know, the Bengals they beat up on pretty good. That's when the defense still wasn't looking great. The Jags, the Cowboys, and then Washington, who's been on a bit of a skid. I think, you know, this is a step up in talent. I know their defense has been pretty solid, but I'm interested to see what that game looks like. I'll probably also be on the money line on the Rams as well with you there, Huss.
Patty, quick rundown of your picks.
Yep, 2 big spreads. Chiefs -11, Commanders -10.5. I've got the Broncos -6 against the Raiders, and then had that total, but that's a Monday nighter. And to round up my card, I'm also on the Rams +3. You guys know I'm not a believer in the Eagles, but I also think the Rams, when healthy, are a team that can't be messed with, and also I have them to make the playoffs, and they're over win total, so I need it.
Got to get that done. All right, house callers, who you guys got? I'll just tell you right off the bat, Dusty is back to one of our old favorites on this one, Brian Robinson. Many men. He's -149 for the house callers. Jake, who you got?
Listen, I don't love to take the chalk, but this guy's not scored a touchdown this season, and we're going to need a touchdown if this team's going to cover. Give me CMC -175. How many more times, like, are we going to get CMC at that number? Usually, you know, at points last year, he was like -400 to get a touchdown. So, you know, I think we've taken longer. We've taken, you know, bigger favorites when, you know, Henry's like a -200 or whatever. So I figure, why not? Let's go CMC -175.
I think I should start picking first touchdown scores because I'm having better luck with the first down scores than I am with just straight up touchdown scores. I had CMC last week, and that was tough. I hate doing these late games because the pressure comes all the way down. But when you look at this Eagles-Rams games, I'm going to go Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown -137.
Hurts-he's been hitting for you. I think that's your guy. Like he's found a way.
He's found a way, and also it's kind of been a way of me, kind of hedging because let's not forget, probably the dumbest future bet I've made this season was Hurts under 10.5 touchdowns. He crested that, I think, 2 weeks ago. So give me Hurts, even though I'm on the Rams. You know there's going to be points scored in that game. So give me Jalen Hurts with the tush push -137.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about going in that game as well. Just looking at, I was going to go, this would be an easy pick, Joe Mixon at -200. God, that's a big number. But I guess if we've got Mixon, let's see. Let's just put this together here right now. We've got Mixon. We need Hurts. Oh, this is a lower game. Jalen Hurts is right here. Pat, who did you have again?
I had Hurts.
Oh, you had Hurts.
I had McCaffrey and Robbins. I have it here, Huss.
Yeah,
581 for the 4.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We'll probably get that above 600
for sure.
Mixon's automatic right now, so I'm. So we'll do that. Mixon, Hurts, McCaffrey, Robinson.
We're so due for one, man. Like we have been battling, and I know we had some juicy ones early. We hit that juicy one like week 3 or 4, but we've been battling.
Now, I'm sure we may throw another couple up there into the combo cards or the exclusives with some personal picks, but let's do this partner parlay. I think we got to go Denver, considering that was sort of the first one, and there's a lot of consensus on this. If we take it to 5.5, it is -118. What else do we like that we've had a little bit of consensus on?
I think Jake and Dusty were on a couple of bets together. I think 3 of the 4.
We could take the Lions to 6.5. We could take the Rams to 3.5.
Yep.
If we want to have a little late night
game
there. Okay, so
like
maybe
that.
Rams to 3.5. I think we'll obviously stay away from Niners Packers.
Yep.
With you on the other side there, Huss.
Well, and just we don't know the quarterback. It's so tough to throw that in
agree.
right now.
I don't think it's worth throwing in.
No.
So yeah, we could do Lions. We could get the Pats 7.5 was -115. I don't know how Patty felt about that one.
I was the only one on that one. I mean, listen, if we go Denver to 5.5, we go Lions to 6.5, and we take the Rams to +3.5. We get it to +472. We'll make up for some of those points we bought with the bonus, and we should be comfortably in the mid-5s, I think, for this one.
Yeah, 100%. I really like that.
All right, so let's lock that in. Denver -5.5, Detroit -6.5, and the Rams +3.5. I might put together a little money line parlay that I'll send you guys, and you can check that up in the combo cards. But those are the picks right now. Let's cash a partner parlay and a house callers. That's one thing we have not done this year, done them both on the same week. I love both of the parlays right now and actually do pretty much like the board. It should be a good one. And then, of course, we'll get the gang back together to break it all down on Monday and get ready for the Harbaugh Bowl between the Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers.
One quick thing, because we were talking about it yesterday with that Indiana-Ohio State game with Curtis Rourke as quarterback with Indiana. That one is now all the way down to 10.5.
Wow.
So I think we're getting some steam on Indiana. I bet it yesterday after we were talking about it at 11.5 because it was 12.5 earlier. So I'm glad I got it. I don't know if we see it less than that. Jake, I don't know if you have any quick thoughts on it. I basically said that we have not seen Indiana play close to the team that Ohio State is, but you got to give them credit for being undefeated at this point. And Kirk Cignetti's done such a good job with this group.
Yeah, I mean, until they get beat, they're still top tier talent. I mean, I think even at this point, people are underestimating them, and that probably helps. You're still the underdog in this spot, and I saw it some places up to 13.5 at points this week. Like it's had quite some movement. It'll probably be the most bet game this weekend, I think, across the board. So, if you are into college football, that's probably something you want to get on, whether you back Ohio State or Indiana. Few things since we're running out of time here. Obviously, head to the promotions page. We got a lot of things running. The weekend win boost, 25% win boost on the NHL or NBA. It works from Friday to Sunday, so that's totally up to you how you want to use that. The Gridiron Grind is still running every week. That works for college or NFL. I believe it's bet 30, get $15 free bet back. The best on bets Boston. If you want a chance to win a trip to Boston, make sure you're locking in your NHL picks with the best on bets promotion running. And I believe our Bet Builder campaign is also running. It runs on Sundays. I think it's a cash back. You get basically a risk-free $10 Bet Builder bet. So head over to the promotions. Make sure you're checking out everything we have in store. And then obviously check the exclusives. We're going to have a WST parlay up today. Combo cards will be busy this weekend for sure. It's another busy weekend, boys. I'm fired up. Leafs are actually off tomorrow, Huss. I know you mentioned before we got on here who they're playing this weekend. They get the lone game on Sunday against Utah, so we'll get a Saturday off for the first time in a little while here.
Oh, that's nice. The rest of Canada can actually get on a hockey game. That'll be a nice change up to the schedule every now and then. Yes, we hit our WST parlay against the Panthers on Tuesday. We got another one cooking. We'll tell you about it tonight, this afternoon on Winnipeg Sports Talk. That'll be in the exclusives as well. And, of course, check the combo cards for the house callers and the partner parlay. Fellas, we'll see you in the group chat. Good luck. Have a great weekend. Lock shoppers, to you as well. May the winners be yours. We'll see you back on Monday, noon Central, 11 a.m. in Edmonton, 1 o'clock Eastern in the lock shop. And good luck with the bets over at Coolbet this weekend. As Jake said, check out those promos and get on them. See you Monday, everyone.
See you, boys.
Have a good one.